Hey everyone, welcome back to You Enjoy Life. I just want to come on here for a bit and chat about something that's been happening. I mean, we've been going through a pandemic for 2 years, and something that I've seen actually as a good thing. There's obviously been a lot of rough things for a lot of people, but what it's forced us to do, and what no matter what you believe, is force people to consider your beliefs on the deepest level, and not just your own beliefs, but the places that you go and the people that you're around, because that's been such a huge highlighting thing. I know so many relationships, friendships, families that have been like destroyed and ripped apart because of different beliefs about vaccines and masks and all these different things. And I write about this stuff in my books a lot, and I'm actually finishing up a new book I'm excited about, Dancing with Your Best Friend. It's the fourth book of the series. If you click the link below, you can get access to all my books. I just like to give them away. I love to write. So what's been fascinating to me about this pandemic is that no matter what you believe, you've had to probably be challenged on your beliefs in some way. And I know people, like I said, that I've had families ripped apart, and people come to me and they're like, I don't know what to do. And I actually think, even though there's been a lot of rough things with the pandemic for a lot of people, I think this challenging a beliefs thing on a mass scale is really powerful. Even though it's extremely polarizing and people like to be very polarizing, I think it's been a really powerful thing because it really forces us to look at what we believe. Now, as I'm sure you know, no matter who you are, we're force-fed things that we lead into. If you're like Republican or Democrat and you follow certain news sites and Facebook, you get fed more and more things to support your beliefs. Which the issue is that regardless of what your beliefs are, all beliefs are just that, they're beliefs. They might be really well researched, well documented, well respected, highly, believed, but they're still beliefs. And if we're not challenging our own beliefs, all we're going to do is get deeper and deeper into these polarizing, contrasting sides. And that's what's been happening. Vaccinated, unvaccinated, mask, no mask, Democrat, Republican, like all these different things, lockdowns, no, it's just pushing people further and further away. But what I've seen is that there's actually, rather than having to choose a side, there's this whole other way of being that doesn't involve taking sides. Because we're living in a world that has so much duality. But in reality, life is non-dualistic. All our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs, and this is the foundation of pretty much all my books, is that all our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs are just that. They're made up. They're things that might support us in the character that we are every single day, but they're still made up. And if we're not willing to question those beliefs and see how they might be driving us, if some belief that we just hold on to our whole life, maybe our parents told us something, or society told us something, and we just blindly believe it, if we're not willing to question it, well, we might be living our life based on someone else's belief, which is probably and usually rooted in fear. So if you're experiencing fear and they're saying, hey, no, this is truth, and just trust me, and it's a closed fist thing, and you're going forward in that way, and you're not willing to open that up and at least look at it, you might look at it, if you're willing to examine it and realize that, no, this actually feels good and cool, well, then keep going about it. But if you're not willing to look at it and you're just saying, well, I just trust this person because they have a plaque on their wall, or I found this research, I'm going to support that. And that, to me, is the heart of this. I see people deep in this conspiracy world. I have friends, I've met many people in my travels that go deep into the quote-unquote conspiracy world, and then I have other people that are like constantly trying to debunk them and talk about how crazy they are. But to me, again, it's just polarizing sides. And what's wild is, in a way, if you see two polarizing sides, by default, neither can be true, because both sides kind of exist to rebel each other. Just like the Democrat-Republican thing, it's like, we're humans. We don't have to fit into this little box, but because we're like, well, I don't believe that person, they're an idiot and they're endangering me, so I'm going to put them over here, and I'm going to get deeper and deeper to people that are pushing them over here, and we're going to go over here. It just creates these more and more reasons to create polarization. Instead of saying, okay, this is how I feel, this is how you feel, cool, there's differences. We're starting to be in this place, especially with COVID, where it's like, no, I actually am threatened by your beliefs. And this has been happening forever. I'm not saying it's not happening, but it's the first time, it seems, in a very long time that the entire world has been globally forced to consider what we believe and what we think and what we know. And it's easy to get lost and caught up in the mess and the muck and the fear. And all I'm really here to talk about is the fact that regardless of what situation you're in, regardless of what you believe, if you are stuck in fear, consider that you need to look at your beliefs and how fear is maybe driving them. Because there is another way. As the Buddha says, there's a middle path. And the Buddha says, don't come with blind faith like a closed fist, but Buddhism is an open hand. It's a, hey, come try this on. come check this out. And I'm not saying to specifically go into Buddhism, but the general concept of like, hey, look at this. If try this on, if this concept, if this identity, if it works for you, if it helps you, great. Use it until it doesn't work for you and then let it go. But I'm not telling you just to believe something blindly. And this is in some ways one of the scariest things to do because it requires a huge leap of faith, which is interesting. But the faith actually gets to get tested and get challenged all the time. When you start thinking for yourself and you stop just trusting the outside authorities about everything, well, then you can actually make decisions that feel pure and true to you. It doesn't mean that they're right, but they actually can feel pure and true to you. I see this all the time in the medical world. People go to different doctors to get different opinions, and at some point, no matter what you're told, you have to make a choice. You can go to 5 different doctors and be told 5 different things about a health element, and if you don't have the ability to be discerning, and you're just like, I don't know, this happens to people all the time, oh my God, what choice do I make? Well, you're probably going to end up with, at least the potential of regret, or something's going to happen where you're like, whoa, I didn't really actually get to make a clear choice. So learning how to think for yourself, learning how to be a critical thinker, learning how to discern, it takes many, many, many years. But I just want to remind you that if you're not considering what your beliefs are and how they're driving you, you're probably being led blindly by something that is in fear. So take the time. This is a great exercise. I like to write down all the things that I know to be true. If I'm struggling with something, I just write down, okay, what do I know for certain to be true? And I look at that. If I have an idea, I'm like, okay, well, I know. You can take something even obvious and ridiculous that like, oh, the earth is round. It's like, okay, I know that the earth is round. And then it's like, okay, well, why do I know that? And you start writing and you try to dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And I don't want to say you're just trying to disprove it, but what it does is it shows us all the layers of belief that create that one belief. Because you have to believe so many things unconsciously to believe the earth is round, to believe the earth is flat, to believe the earth is holographic. They're all based on things we've read, things we've been told. And if we're not willing to look at those things and deconstruct them, we're probably going to, at some point, the deeper down you go down the chain, at some point you're just making an assumption, right? I'm just making this assumption that this is the way things are. People have these beliefs of like, well, life is hard, and I need to work really hard and get a 9-to-5 job if I want to make a lot of money. And it's like, okay, why? Well, because, I see people doing that all the time. Okay, but like, who are these people? It's like, well, my parents. And it's like, okay, but is that the only way? And are there not other people? And the more we question and start to pull down all the threads, you start to realize that most of your beliefs are built on these false assumptions. And it seems scary at first because it can seem like your life is falling apart. But the beauty to it, and this is where it all comes together, is that you're able to tap into something much deeper, something much more universal. This universal trust, this trust in consciousness, this trust in, you can say God or the universe, whatever word you want to use. There's a higher intelligence that's part of us, that's guiding us. And if we're just thinking up here, if we're just in our ego mind, our fear mind, we're just going to be in this state of protection. I need to protect myself at all costs. But when you start to tap into those deeper layers of understanding and truth and intelligence, well, then you can start to make decisions based on things that actually make sense, not that are rooted in fear. So I'm not saying fear is a bad thing. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is, I think, a great tool to help you see deeper parts of yourself. But if you're not willing to look at those places, you're probably going to be guided by something that isn't actually you. And life journey, to me, has been to unveil, to pull back those layers. Just like taking my shoes off and realizing how amazing my feet are. Just like taking certain layers of my identity off and who I believe myself to be. And what's under there, what's hiding under there, is amazing and magic. So if you want to know more, like I said, I write books about this stuff. Just check out the link below. I do some one-on-one coaching and guidance. I really call it guidance and mentorship. I only take on a few clients at a time, but you can shoot me an email at youenjoylifemusic@gmail.com. But I've just come to see that I'm really here, for the most part, just to share these things and to remind people not to go deeper into fear and that we can create a world together rather than being rooted in fear, but being rooted in trust and connection, right? And the more people that resonate in this space, we don't have to fight the powers that be, but the more people that resonate in the space over time, that energy can just emanate throughout the world. See you soon.